What if today was the day that you finally figured it out? The day that instead of struggling, instead of making a living and just getting by or not getting to the next level, suddenly that answer is put before you. That answer might come today. Welcome to Art School Live, everybody. It's Marketing Monday, and for artists, photographers, crafters, anybody who is crafty in some way, making a living off of their artwork, this is all about that. It's about helping you make some extra money, helping you turn your passion into profit. And today is about selling your art. Now, quite frankly, most of the things I talk about apply to anybody who's selling or promoting or marketing anything. My name is Eric Rhoads. I'm the founder of several art magazines, newsletters, conferences, all kinds of things for artists and industries. I've been helping artists and galleries in the art world for over 2 decades. My superpower happens to be the business of art, especially marketing. And I've spent my career marketing and selling products. I've watched businesses grow that I've been able to help. I've helped artists 10x their businesses. And I even run a couple of art masterminds, marketing masterminds, to advise artists. And so my goal is to take you to the highest possible level. So let's get this show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
So today we're going to talk about a number of things. Selling on eBay, the difference between a publicist and marketing people, how to convert people showing interest in your art to actual customers, how to get into a gallery if you just like promoting yourself and your work. Should you focus on one particular medium, and how can I get galleries to see my work? And there's even some bonus questions in the comments, but and we'll go to the comments and try to answer some of those as well. So let's see, we're going to go right to the first question I have, which is from 𝗕𝘂𝘆𝗲𝗄𝗏 on Instagram. And she says, do you think eBay is bad for selling paintings? Cheryl, I don't think any place is bad for selling paintings. There is nothing that I would take off the table. Now, I want to qualify that a little bit. Some places are better than others. Some places will get you a better price. So environment has a lot to do with price. But you know what? On eBay Automotive, you can buy a $90,000 collector car. People buy things online. I have friends in the art gallery business I have a friend who sold a $650,000 piece of sculpture without ever talking to him, buying it online. So price online is very acceptable, and you can get a higher price online sometimes than you can offline. It doesn't have to be cheap. Now, if you're selling on a discounting environment like something like Temu or something, then that's probably going to be harder to get a price. Maybe even harder to get a price on something like TikTok, a marketplace. But I've seen some high prices in TikTok marketplace. So there's a lot of things. The thing that is important is differentiation. You need to figure out how to differentiate, and you need to figure out how to get noticed. Now, here's the problem. Does anybody remember a thing called a phone book? There's a scene in a classic Steve Martin movie called The Jerk, and he's like running around, hey, my name's in the phone book, my name's in the phone book. That was a big deal, right? But the phone book, if you were in the city of Los Angeles, the phone book was really, really thick, and there were 100 million names in there. And as a result, just having yourself on a website or just being on Etsy or on eBay or on something like that is not going to help. You've got to figure out how to draw attention to yourself. So in an environment like Etsy, you can actually you can spend money to draw attention to yourself. Now, imagine this. Now, I don't have real numbers, but imagine this. Imagine that there are 10 million people a day visiting Etsy, and nobody ever finds your work. The reason they're not finding your work is because you're not either hitting the right keywords that people are searching for, or you're not doing something to promote yourself. So on Etsy, you can buy promotions that elevate you to get you seen more. And the more you spend, the more you're going to get seen. The more you get seen, in theory, the more you're gonna get sold, right? So that's the other thing. Now, environment does affect price. We're going to talk about that a little later today in the show as well. But the environment you're in does help set the price. I always talk about, you don't sell a Bentley in a flea market, and you don't sell flea market junk in a Bentley dealership, right? So the things that the environment matters, right? Louis Vuitton is not in a crummy neighborhood. They're in the most expensive shopping area in every major city, right? So environment matters. So how do you get bigger on Etsy? It's really it's or eBay or Etsy or Pinterest. It's really all about how do you promote yourself. So write descriptions. I believe you should write descriptions for every painting. I think the description should be mostly fantasy, a little bit fact. The fact is, what it is and the size it is and stuff like this. But then dream it up. I was thinking of this, and when I painted this, it made me feel this way, and it, get some emotion into your paintings. That's what sells paintings, no matter what the environment. Okay. I hope that helps. Now we're going to go to Diane 𝗕𝗂𝘆𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍. I'm sorry. Diane, I'm sorry. Diane is asking, what's the difference between paying a publicist and paying people for marketing? Well, a publicist is a person whose primary job is to get you publicity. So publicity is part of marketing, but it's not all of marketing. So oftentimes people will hire an ad agency. And if you get an ad agency that has a broad focus, so to speak, then that agency might do publicity, they might do advertising, they might do creative, they might do getting you speaking gigs, they might get you on events, get you on podcasts, things like that. A publicist is typically somebody who's going to pick up the phone or email somebody or message them and say, and give the story, right? Because I'm in the press, I get this stuff all day long, and most of them don't bother to pay attention. So I get pretty much 2, 3, 4 times a week something from somebody who says, it's a publicist. And they say, you should feature this person in your publication, and they're a plumbing specialist or something. They're just sending it out to a list. They're not even paying attention to who I am, and so automatically I'm just going to rule that out. But a publicist who contacts me and says, hey, so and so is doing this really interesting thing in the art world. I got one of those the other day. And I decided to put this person on the Plein Air podcast, which is coming up because it's so unique. That was stimulated by a publicist who tried to get them on my podcast, and they were very specific. So I have a friend who today is probably a billionaire, and he's very well known in business circles. He's kind of a high-profile CEO. And when he and I were young guys, maybe in our 20s, he said to me, I'm going to hire a publicist. And I said, why? He says, because I want to get famous, because the more famous I get, the more better jobs I'm going to get, and so on. And so he cut a deal with somebody, and they made him famous, and they just kept doing it. Oh, yeah. And he's super famous now. So that's where publicity makes a difference. Now, marketing is completely different. Marketing is a lot of different pieces. Marketing is branding, building your name, building your reputation, building trust, building a meaning behind your name. It's visibility, it's marketing in the terms of advertising, promotions, putting yourself out there, and so on. So there's a lot of different things in marketing. I talk about all of these things in my mastermind groups. Okay, Nicole from Florida, she says, I am struggling to increase my painting sales, although last year it picked up due to my involvement with online craft fairs. And how do I get people to progress from liking my paintings to buying something or committing to a commission? Often somebody's interested in a painting but backs out or takes their time responding or says they want a personalized work and then they back out. What are my strategies to hook a potential buyer and keep them hooked? Wow, that's a giant question. Okay, so there's an old saying, and I don't mean to be I don't want to be crass. But when I was learning sales, when I took sales training initially, and I've taken a lot of it over a lot of years, some of it's good, some of it's bad. There was a saying called all buyers are liars. Okay. Now, you're not a liar. I'm not a liar, but there are times when we are liars. Can you think of one? Okay. So think of this one. We walk into the Gap, right? And there's a salesperson looming, and that salesperson walks up and says, "Can I help you?" And what do you say? If you have something specific in mind and you need help, you're going to ask them. But what I say is, "Oh, no, thanks. I'm just browsing, or I'm just looking." That's a flat out lie. Now, it is true. I am just browsing. I don't necessarily need their help, but all liars are buyers, right? So the idea is that somebody, you ask somebody if they're interested at a craft fair, at a craft fair, and they'll, they don't want to be stuck. So, oh, this is really beautiful. I really like this. Well, then you say, well, do you want to buy it? Well, I'll think about it. I'll think about it is almost always a lie. And so you've got to kind of tune into the phrases that people use. And so you said, I get people to progress from liking my paintings to buying something, and that's tough, or committing to a commission. I think that, the first thing is there's some really great sales training out there. I'm doing some sales training in my masterminds, but the idea is you want to ask questions that don't make people feel uncomfortable, right? So, for instance, go negative instead of positive. There's a great guy by the name of Chris Voss. He's a negotiation trainer, and he used to do hostage negotiations. And, if you walk up to somebody and you say, "Hey, would you be interested in buying that painting?" All of a sudden the arms cross and they're like, "Oh, it's really beautiful. Not at this time." Right. But yeah, if you walk up to them and you say, "Probably not interested in that painting, are you?" And if they are, they'll go, "Well, actually I kind of am," because people tend to do the opposite. And then if somebody makes a statement, then you say, you're like, "Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know what to say next." So whenever you don't know what to say next, you just say, "Tell me about that." Or, "Can you explain that a little bit more?" Or, "Help me understand that." Something like that. And then they'll go, "Oh, I really, I was thinking that might go good and hanging in my living room." And then whatever they say, this isn't manipulative. This is just getting people talking, right? Whatever they say, you just say, "Your living room? Yeah, I was thinking it would go good with the couch." "It would go good with the couch?" "Yeah, the couch is purple. There's a lot of purple in there. This is perfect," right? They're talking themselves into it. So the real key to selling is just asking great questions and keep people talking. If you box yourself in, you can't get out of it. And so don't box yourself in. And somebody takes their time responding, they're backing out, it's because they don't want it, or maybe they're slightly interested. And so what I'd like to do, especially at a craft show, I'll say, "Hey, let me take a picture of that painting for you. And if you decide you might be interested in it, you can just text me." And they'll go, "Great." Say, "Give me your phone." And they give you your phone. They say, "I want to take your picture in front of it." They take the picture in front of it. Or better yet, you use your phone, and they say, "Okay, let me text it to you. What's your number?" Now they have your number. They have a photo that's a reminder of the painting, and they're in the picture with it. And whenever somebody's in the picture with something, they're mentally owning it, right? That goes back to vision boards and all of that stuff. When I wanted to have a Porsche 911, it was my big goal to have a Porsche 911. I went out and I got my picture taken in a Porsche, and I put it up in my bathroom window or a mirror. And then I look at it every day. Next thing you know, I'm like, I see myself in this Porsche. I don't have it anymore. I almost wrecked it. Okay. Next we have Amy Weber. Amy says, "I hate posting on digital media." Yeah, you and everybody else, right? "I want a gallery to represent me because I love making art, but I dislike promoting myself. What do I suggest?" Amy, you're not going to like what I have to say. Get over it. Look, here's the problem. If let's say that you get a gallery and a gallery makes up 100% of your sales, that's a good thing, right? No, it's not a good thing. Here's why. I've got this buddy in California. He's a really good friend of mine. He's a great artist. He's brilliant. He had all of his artwork in 3 galleries. And it was, I remember very specifically in 2008, he said, he came over and we hung out, and I said, you know, you seem a little down. What's wrong? He says, oh, he said, I've lost all my income. I said, what do you mean? He said, I had 3 galleries close in the last 3 weeks. And he said, so they were making up 100% of my income. And I said, well, how are you going to prevent that from happening again? He said, well, I'm going to be in more galleries. I said, right. But what else are you going to do? You have to have control over your career. And if you give 100% control to somebody else, then they're in control. They set your prices. They determine whether you eat or you struggle. And if they get tired of you, or they decide they don't like your work anymore and they're not promoting it, all of a sudden you're kind of out of luck. So if you're going to be an artist of any kind, photographer, crafter, woodworker, whatever, if you're going to be an artist of any kind, you have to control your destiny as an artist. That means you have to be the one who's managing the galleries, getting into multiple galleries. I suggest a minimum of 3, but sometimes even 3 isn't enough, right? Like I just mentioned. You want to control your branding. You can't leave it to them. Even though your branding will result in higher prices for them, it's going to result in higher prices for you. So you want to control your branding. You want to control as much as you possibly can. And that includes, you've got to be visible on social media. They're not going to do that for you, and they're not likely to. They'll do a little, maybe. You've got to build yourself up on social media and find the right strategy to keep yourself visible. So if you hate it, I can tell you another thing that I hate, right? I'm in business. You know what I hate most about business? Accounting. I don't like accounting. I don't like looking at numbers. I don't like bookkeeping. I don't do any of that anymore, but I used to do it by myself, and I hated it, right? So as soon as I could get some help with it, I did. But, you know, we have to build muscles in certain areas, right? So your identity doesn't change just because you're finding yourself posting on social media and not liking it. The identity you want to have is, every time I post on social media, it's raising my visibility. It's building my brand. It's going to help raise my price. It's going to help me get more galleries. It's going to make people want to know more about me. And so don't look at it as a negative. Just look at this as a muscle you need to build. All right, let's see. We have now Susan Jopes Shaw, who says, does anyone have to concentrate on one medium, or does someone have to concentrate on one medium, or can they work in many? Well, Susan, I think that I can probably tell you a story. So I got this. I've told this story before. This woman calls me. She says, I've been advertising in your magazine. It's not working. I said, why do you say that? She said, because I haven't sold anything. I said, okay. So why do you think the magazine's not working? She said, because I haven't sold anything. I said, okay, let's check your stats on your website. And so we checked her stats, and she had doubled or tripled her visits in her website. I said, okay, tell me about what you're selling. And we looked up her ad, and her ad was for commissioned portraits. And so I went to her website with her. I was on a Zoom call or something. And I said, okay, I just went to this website that's advertised in the magazine. I don't see commissioned portraits. She said, no, they're not on the front page. I said, where are they? She said, well, you go up there and then you pull that down, and then you look for portraits, and then you pull portraits down, and then you pull down commissioned portraits. I said, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to look around. You know, people are in and out. They're quick, and they want to scratch the itch. If you are advertising something, that needs to be the first thing they see. If you don't want that the first thing they see on your website, then you need a separate website. So it is the first thing, you know, maybe it's my Susan's commissionedportraits.com, right? So you want to have whatever you're selling front and center. Everything else is noise, right? If you want to become known for something, think about Scott Christensen, the great landscape painter. Scott Christensen isn't known for portraits. He does them. I've been with him when he does them. He is known for oil landscapes and now gouache landscapes, but he's all about landscapes, right? He's not doing flowers. He's not doing frogs or animals. Maybe he is, maybe, but he's not showing them. He is as successful as they get, right? It's concentrated. Clyde Espig, same thing. Great landscape painter. Jill Carver, great landscape painter. Jeremy Lipking, he's a great landscape painter, but he's really known as a great portrait painter or figure painter, right? So you want to, if you want to get known for something. If you get known, if you're 𝗠𝗿𝗄𝗃, he probably got known for something that he did really well, and then he probably expanded. When you're famous, you can do whatever you want because now you're famous, everybody wants your work. But when you're trying to build your career, stay concentrated, stay focusing in a very narrow area. You can do whatever you want. I paint tons of things, but I only show my landscapes. I don't show my portraits. I don't show my florals. I don't show any of that stuff. Okay, we have Christina White, who says, Christina says, I need to expand my exposure. Galleries are not accepting email requests. How can I get galleries to see my work? Well, Christina, I have a whole thing I do, a whole thing I teach. I have this thing called the Foundational Principles. You can find it at artbizmastery.com, artbizmastery.com. In my Foundational Principles, I teach about how to get into art galleries. Everybody does it wrong. Art galleries are inundated with artists. I mean, imagine this. Imagine if you're in a popular art gallery and you advertise, and all of a sudden every artist who reads my magazine picks up the phone and calls them. You'd never get anything else done. They don't want to hear your calls. They don't want your email requests. They don't want you sending packages in the mail. They want to discover you. They want to be referred by somebody else. They don't want to have to reject people, right? And so I have friends who have literally had hundreds and hundreds of packages that they have to go through. And he said, I have a friend, he said, I could have a full-time person who did nothing but open these packages from artists. He said, it's a real pain in my, what. So, and he loves artists. I don't want to say he doesn't, but the way to get into galleries is to get invited. Read my book, Make More Money Selling Your Art, which is out of print. So you'll find it on eBay. But there's a new version coming out here soon. And then follow the protocol that I say of how to get into it. I don't want to get into too much depth here, but that's what you got to do. Okay, let's see here. Bonus questions that are not marketing, but are asked in the comments. All right. Sharon Clark says, what is the best way to ship a painting to a client? I don't know. Are there companies that specialize in shipping paintings? There are. Yeah, if you're in the high end, Sharon, there are art handlers, white glove trucking companies that move paintings for galleries and for rich collectors and things like that. Most of us just ship our paintings on UPS or FedEx. My friend in California that I alluded to before, his deal is I only want galleries which are within driving distance because I don't want to be packing and shipping paintings all the time. So I'll drive 10 or 20 of them down at a time. I'll save thousands of dollars in shipping. And then if they're not working, I can go pick them up. And so he keeps them in his region, which I think is really smart, but he's missing out on some regions. I was in 3 galleries. I'm in 2 now because the one gallery owner passed away, unfortunately. And I've got 2 more that want me. So I'm kind of debating, how much art can I produce? Am I going to do it? And the thing I dislike the most is packaging things up and shipping them. But there are special boxes you can get for art that have special lining and to pick them up, or you can pay UPS or whomever to pack them. That's one of the downsides of being an artist is you have to deal with that. But I don't know if there are people who specialize in doing paintings, probably not for shipping. There might be in places like New York or LA. Okay. The next question is from Jeff 𝗕𝗂𝘆𝗶, who says, what are some of the benefits of taking a painting class through a seasoned artist versus learning online on YouTube and the like? Well, that's a slippery subject. Jeff, look, I have a saying. The saying is practice does not make perfect. We've all heard practice makes perfect. It's not true. Perfect practice makes perfect. Practice, if you practice something that's not good, then you're practicing something that's not good and you're going to develop bad habits. When you study under a master or under a great painter, then you have the benefit of their feedback. Now, I'm in the business of online learning. I have over 600 full-length art instruction courses that we teach on painttube.tv. And we love that. And I do a YouTube show every day, right? Like this, except most days it's teaching painting. And you can learn a lot from these things, but there's nothing like the farmer's shadow, right? There's nothing like having somebody over there working with you. I decided one time that I needed to really get really good at two things. One was portraits, one was landscapes. So I thought, who are the two best people that I could hire? And I actually hired them and bought a week of their time. Now, it was expensive. It was, imagine it was the equivalent of what they would make on a 1-week workshop. And I had to pay that. And it was worth every penny because I got their undivided attention for a week. But going to workshops is really good. But what happens is that people go to workshops, then they don't do what the people tell them. They paint what they want. They don't push themselves and get out of their box. And so you've got to put yourself out there. I think that videos are fine if especially if you do a discipline. Like, let's say you bought the new 𝗕𝘂𝘆𝗆 video that we're just releasing. 𝗕𝘂𝘆𝗆 does flowers and things like that. So you want to learn to paint like her because she's so good. So what I would do is I'd buy that video and then I'd watch the whole thing. Then I'd watch a segment of it again and I'd paint along and I'd see if I could get it perfect. And then I'd watch the next segment, see if I could get that perfect, and so on and so on. I'd treat it like going to school, right? My daughter goes to class. She has to be at class a certain time every morning. Just set it in your calendar. I'm going to do learning at this time for 1 hour. And if you do, I don't always succeed, but I try to read for an hour every night, right? And if you get an hour every night, that's 300 plus hours of training your brain that is going to make you better. Same thing with art instruction. I have a PaintTube has an app, right? So I can go on my phone, pull up my PaintTube account, pull up the videos in there, the courses that I want to learn. I can watch that, when I'm sitting at a bus stop or wherever I am. So take it, I'm famous for grocery lines. I'm in a line at a grocery, I'm watching a video because I'm trying to learn. So you want to be deliberate, whatever you're going to do. Okay. I think there's a couple other questions that have popped up here, and let's see if I can find them in here. We talked about that. We talked about that. We talked about that. We talked about that. I guess we're pretty much, I think we're pretty much there. I think there was one in there. Well, I guess we're just kind of done. Okay, we're going to be done early today. We can go into the comments. Let's see, what do we have in the comments? If you were a beginning artist, oh, they keep moving, hang on. If you were a beginning artist, what would be the most important thing you could do? Okay. So if I were just starting out as an artist, the very first thing is you've got to get your chops, right? You've got to get the training, get the best training you can get. Watch the best artists, study them, learn from them, develop your own feel, your own style, which is like your signature. It'll come to you, but get really, really good. I met a young artist recently and I answered that question with that. Get really, really good. Get as good as you can get, because the older you get, the more pressure you have to make money, the less you get a chance to learn. So learn while you can. The most important thing you can do is to build a mail list, right? And to develop a list of customers. Who is it that should be your customer? And how do you, how do you get them on a mail list? So wherever you meet somebody, give me your business card, I'll put you on my mail list. And some people don't want to be, but don't put people on there that don't fit, right? So if you're selling workshops, then you want to put other artists on your mail list, or unless you know there are artists who buy art, and there are a lot of artists who do that. But I would have two mailing lists, one for my workshops and one for my art. And I would have two newsletters, one for my workshops and one for my art. And you whoever you're talking to, you've got to talk to them in their way. And so you want to talk to people in a way that's going to make them as as targeted as possible. So anyway, let's see here. Here's a couple more. Here's one from Susan Hunter-Geese. How do you manage the relationship with your existing gallery? How often is too much to contact? Do you use or recommend contracts, thinking of potential bankruptcy? Yeah. Well, okay. So back when I was a photographer, I did these panoramic photographs, and they were very expensive to do. They were really big. And I had 10 of them or 12 of them in this gallery in Seattle. And I was making some money, and all of a sudden the gallery went out of business, and I couldn't find them. They were gone. And they had 8 or 10 of my pieces of artwork that I hadn't been paid for. I did not have a contract. Even if I did have a contract, I didn't know where to find them. And I, at the time, didn't know how to look them up to see if they were bankrupt or otherwise. At the time, it was kind of pre-internet. And so I lost those paintings. Fast forward 30 years, probably 30 years. I'm at a party, and I introduced myself. And this guy says, "Is there any chance you're the same Eric Rhoads that was in a so-and-so gallery in Seattle?" I said, "Yes, I was." He said, "You're a panoramic photographer?" I said, "Yes, I was." He said, "We've been looking for you for 30 years. We've got all your photographs." I got them all back 30 years later. But yeah, you want to have a contract. You want to have a specific paragraph in the contract that talks about specifically, what happens if they're bankrupt. Because a judge, if you don't have anything, the judge is going to assume that anything that's in their inventory belongs to them. And then the judge decides to sell it off. You don't get anything. So you got to have something that you can, a letter or a signed contract, you can go to the court and say, "Hey, these are mine. I want these back." And so, yeah, you want to have a contract. Now, in terms of how do you manage the gallery relationship, the best thing to do is to ask the gallery, "How would you like to manage our relationship? How often do you want me to call you? What is too much?" And so on. And they'll tell you. And, you have to stay top of mind. And sometimes you can stay top of mind by doing little things like send a little gift, just, "Hey, I was thinking about you, thought you'd like to have this, box of chocolates or something." And then they're going to go, "Oh yeah, Eric, I remember Eric. I guess I should sell his paintings more." Little things like that matter. So ask them. But I think, 2-3 times a year is probably enough. But if they're not moving product, then you probably increase the frequency. You don't want to become a pain in the butt. I know people who do that, and they start like, "Hey, why aren't you selling artwork?" Don't ask why anything. Just say, "Hey, what could we do together to help sell more artwork?" That's more appropriate, right? And they'll say, "Well, we kind of haven't been showing it. We'll put it out again." All right. Here's another one from Ryan Henry. Ryan says, "What should we stop doing in marketing ourselves?" That's a great question, Ryan. Okay, stop being lazy. And what I mean by that is, look, you have to devote 20% of your time to your business and your marketing, at least. So set a schedule and put that on your calendar and do it religiously, whatever days you're going to do it. Don't be lazy. It's nice to be able to paint all the time. And I know you're not lazy painting, but you might be lazy about the other things. Stop fear of high prices. I was coaching last night or a couple nights ago, I guess. I was coaching one of my masterminds, and this artist was like, I know I should get higher prices, but I can't do it. I said, "Well, just do it." She said, "Well, I can't do it." I said, "Yeah, you can. Just do it. Go change your prices right now and just do it." "Oh, no, nobody will pay for it." And I said, "Just do it. Stop being afraid of it." No, we don't know what's going to happen. but something will happen. So let's find out. Stop being shy. Stop being afraid to put yourself out there. Stop not willing to brand yourself. Stop being cheap. If you're cheap, then, there are things that you can do to build your business if you spend a little money on them. Like you can get some help, or you could buy some ads, or you can do something that's so don't be cheap about everything. I know sometimes we're forced to be. I was. Let's see what else. Stop thinking that social media is all you need. Yeah, I think that's a big one. We have this mentality of, oh, I've got 10,000 followers. Woohoo. Well, Instagram, this is published data, by the way. If you do a post, you think, oh, I'm going to do a post and all 10,000 of my followers are going to see it. Not true. 3%. And if 3% are interactive and engaged and they feel like that's happening, they'll give you another 3%, and then another 3%, another 3%. Most people don't ever get there. So you're building your career based on something that's not reaching anybody. So you've got to have other things. Never put all your eggs in one basket. I have a social media department. I have social media advertising. I have organic social media. I have advertising department. We do promotions, we do mails, we do posters, we do it all. And that's why we have this massive machine, right? Because we do it all. So I used to do it all myself. So you can do it, right? Stop doing the same thing everybody else is doing. When they zag, you should zig, right? Don't do the same things everybody else does. Okay, let's see if we've got any others in here in the comments. Yes, we do. Kathy Khan. I've watched Marketing Mondays since it began. Thank you. And I've just started selling my watercolors this past summer. Congratulations. So I found it very helpful. Good. I do wish that the focus of pricing conversations would track with a little more reality. Haha. Most of the people watching or listening are not likely to be selling $15,000 paintings. I think artists want to know how to get $500 for a painting and what it takes to start getting $1,500. All right, that's fair. So, Kathy, I don't mean to put you on the spot here. I don't want to embarrass you, but is that a story you're telling yourself? Is it really true? I mean, I understand that most of us are really gun shy about how much we're going to charge for our paintings. I have a friend, kid you not, true story, I can't mention a name. I have a friend who sold his first ever painting for $80,000. Now, there was a lot of reasons for that. And a lot of that had to do with his notoriety, his celebrity, a lot of things like that. So he had branding already going for him. So I'm a realist. I know everybody needs to get some experience, and quality does matter. You got to get pretty good at painting, and the level of painting at some point elevates the level of price, but not always. I've seen bad paintings go for big money. So it's a lot of it's about brand, and a lot of it's about the buyer, right? So I had this conversation with an art gallery I was in. I said, I want to be the most expensive artist in the art gallery. And they said, well, but you're not well known yet. I said, I know, but price signals quality. And I couldn't get her to do it. But I eventually did, and I eventually sold paintings. And it's like, well, wait, you didn't have to earn your keep. You just have to, somebody walks in and they get emotional about something, and if they have deep pockets and they see something that's $15,000, if they see the same painting that's $2,000, they might be going, it must not be very good. There's a lot of evidence about that kind of thing. So, brand, environment matter. Environment will lower your price. If you're in the local watercolor club and you're doing a show and every painting's $100, yeah, you're going to be at $100. But if you're in a show and all the paintings are $2,000, you're going to be in the $2,000 range. If all the show's $20,000, that's how it goes. So focus on environment, find a way to build awareness, make sure you stand out. That's the way to get more money. And of course, your quality needs to be there. Something else that's really important is you set your price. If it sells quickly and easily, the next time you raise your price 20%. If it sells quickly and easy, you raise it another 20 and just keep doing that. There's a story I tell about an artist. He had a painting in a gallery for a year, didn't sell, took it out, put it in another gallery, doubled the price. Didn't sell, took it out, doubled the price again, and it just wasn't selling. So he said, what the heck? He put a $15,000 price on it, sold. All right. So sometimes if something is really good, like if, let's say, somebody came up to you and they said, hey, I've got a Mercedes for sale. It's a brand new, whatever model Mercedes, and I'll sell it to you for $15,000. Your BS meter is going to go up, and right, you're going to go, oh, there's something wrong with that. It's been wrecked. It's got a bad engine. Somebody put sugar in the gas tank. There's something wrong with it, right? Because it doesn't fit. If somebody sees something that's really super quality, they're going to ask themselves, well, it must be a print because it's only $200, or it must not be very good. Maybe this is coming from prison. I don't know. So what you want to do is make sure that you're signaling quality every chance you get, because those signals make a big difference. Let's go to the comments again. Amanda Murray Griffey says, how do you find your ideal client collector audience? Well, I think the best way, Amanda, is ask. I had a deal with one of my galleries, and I said, anytime somebody buys the work, I would like their phone number and their address, and I'll send them a card, and I'll call and thank them, and I'll never violate the relationship. I'll never sell them direct or anything like that. So I'd send them a nice card, and then I'd follow up, and I'd call them and say, hey, I was really thinking about you. I just want to thank you for buying my painting. The gallery told me about you, and I don't want to be annoying. I just want to say thank you. They'll say, well, that's very nice. Thank you. And I'll say, I just love to know a little bit more about the people who buy my paintings. Can you tell me a little bit about yourselves? Oh, yeah, well, we do this, we own this business, and so on. And then when you do that 8 or 10 times, you start seeing patterns. And, like the pattern I saw is that everybody that bought my paintings were business owners, right? So is there a way I could make the stories in my paintings appeal to somebody who might have that, that sense? Like the story could say, this represents independence. This represents trying to stand out on my own and being able to make it on my own and, against the odds. Somebody who built a business has gone through that. And they're going to go, yeah, I get it. So, all right, let's see. One more. Kelly Borsheim, how do you deal with burnout, especially social media and marketing? Well, I like to take 1 week a year and go offline. And I basically put my phone away, stay off my phone, don't check my social media, don't check my email, don't check anything. And sometimes, it's with the family, then I don't have to worry about, them not being able to reach me. That 1 week a year helps me, and I would highly recommend it. I am trying to set a time to make sure that I stay off social media at least an hour before I go to bed. So because of the blue light, there's research about that. We all get burned out. Usually burnout is a function of frustration or depression. So if you're getting burned out on something, try to dig into it. Why am I burned out? Is it because things aren't going well? Am I feel like I'm pedaling faster and faster and nothing is happening? Well, if that's the case, then you've got to educate yourself. I go through this all the time. I'm a big social media guy. I've got a lot of followers, and I buy courses all the time. I'm buying books. I'm reading books constantly. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong, and so I can fix it. And so if you're frustrated, fix it. And then, of course, get away from it. I think that's the best thing you can do. All right, we've got time for another one. Here's from Doug Madill. Can I address some mailing list do's and don'ts? Yeah. Okay. Do start a mailing list. Gather names. You see, when you have a mailing list, you have your own media, right? I own a media company. I have newsletters and magazines and all kinds of stuff, right? So I own my own media. But if you want to be on my media, you have to buy ads to get on it, or you got to get us to write a story about it. So I control my media. You can control your media. When you have a mail list, that's your media. You now can have a newsletter or whatever you want, and you can talk to those people as frequently as you want. But it's got to be good, because if they don't read it, it's not doing you any good. If they don't open it, it doesn't do any good. What is the most important thing when sending an email? Anybody know? Most important thing when sending an email is the subject line. Because if they don't open the email, nothing else matters, right? So secondly is don't fill your mail list with names that are not going to buy something, right? Everybody you meet, you put them on your newsletter. Try to figure out, I talked about this earlier. Are they an artist? Send them something different. They're a collector or somebody who's a prospect. You meet and I don't mean to sound, I'm just making a point. I'm not trying to make a political statement, but you meet somebody who is homeless on the street, they give you their business card. They're not going to buy a painting. They're probably not going to even see your email. So why bother? You want to be nice to them. I'm not saying that, but they're not going to buy anything likely, right? Do not just send once a month, right? Most artists send one email a month, and that's one shot a month. What if you doubled it? You get 2 shots. What if you break your newsletter into twice a month? Next month next week I'll talk about this. Find excuses to send more frequently. Here are my 3 newest paintings. Find things to talk about that are not about you, right? I get all these artist newsletters and they're all about them, right? I did this, I did that, beat my chest, blah, 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 right? Boring, right? Well, but what if you made it about me? What if you made it about something I was interested in? What if you made it about, how to take care of your paintings? Or what if you made it about how to know if your collection is valuable, or what, things like that. Doesn't mean you can't talk about yourself, but do something that headlines that gets their attention, gets them to open it. That's the kind of thing. Those are the do's and don'ts. Don't talk about yourself all the time, right? Expand, make it interesting. We all think, nobody wants to hear about me. Well, I just think they do, right? Nobody wants to hear about you. You just think they do. So do that. Okay, we do. We have time. Okay, here's another. Guys are good in the comments today. Thank you. How much, this is from, 𝗕𝗂𝘆𝗆𝗿𝘀. He's one of our artists. He's terrific. How much importance do you put on a legible signature? I mention this to my students because time to time, because it's a good idea for marketing. Wonder what others think about that. Well, I think it's very important. I get so frustrated. I look at a painting. I was somewhere the other day, somebody's house. Oh, I know whose house. They have a nice collection of paintings. And it was like this scribble signature. And I said, who did that? And she said, I don't remember. And she came up and looked. She says, I don't know. So we pulled the painting off in the back. There was nothing on the back. That painting historically will not go down in history. My friend Jean Stern, the great art historian, he says, he's doing research on paintings and he can't figure out who did paintings. So they go into oblivion. You do this fancy schmancy signature, nobody can read it. So if you're going to do a fancy schmancy signature on the front, at least write your name out on the back. What I do is I do a block. You can read my name. I usually put it in a kind of a dark red. And then on the back, I write copyright B. Eric Rhoads, all rights reserved, 2025. And then I write the story of the painting sometimes, or where I was or who I was with, because that way there's a historical marker. Not that my work's going to go down in history, but you never know. And then that way it's clear, but I like it clear on the front. Now, some people are weird about putting dates on the fronts. Galleries don't want to sell a painting that's not fresh for some reason. So I don't do that too often. I might put it on the back. So, and I like to put my website in the back, and that way, if somebody buys a painting or somebody sells it to somebody else, at least they'll look me up, right? So I think it's very important. Kyle, by the way, is really a good painter. Okay, one more. Oh, hey, this is like Old Home Week. I'm hearing from all these people I know. This is from Jeff Legg. Great, brilliant artist. Jeff says, in a world filled with digital images, AI technology, and infringement, are machines taking over the image-making market? or will handmade, or you might say human-made images become even more sought after and valuable? All right, that's a really great question. So there's an author by the name of John Nesbitt. Back when tech first started, he said, in a world of high tech, you need more high touch, meaning you're going to stand out more with a handwritten note to somebody rather than an email, right? You want to stand out. I have a friend, an artist friend, who comes to our conventions and teaches and stuff, and she just dropped off of Etsy because Etsy is filled with AI images that people are selling. I have another friend who told me they're making big money by they dream up these AI images, they get them made, they print them out in high resolution, they sell them on Etsy. So one's leaving because of the other. And the problem with Etsy right now for some people is it's getting flooded with a lot of cheap stuff, and they're going to have to control that. But people are buying, there are beautiful artworks created in AI. Now, the next thing that will be happening is they'll be creating an AI, and then they'll have a printer that prints out in ink. Actually, that exists. Or prints out in oil paint. So that's always going to be a problem. But I think the key is differentiation. This is handmade. This is one of a kind. This is a prominent artist. This is not AI. There are people who are going to buy and who do buy beautiful images, and I've made some beautiful images on AI. And so that's not the end of the world. It might be the end of the world in other ways, especially if you make your living doing things. I make a lot of money off of AI just by using it to save time. So yeah, and are they copying pieces of your work? Yes and no. They're taking pieces of millions of pieces of work and combining them and coming up with ideas. It's scary, but you know what? Everybody was scared when desktop publishing came in years ago too. So keep that in mind. Okay, well, I think we can do one more. This one is from Elizabeth Rhoads, no relation. I've not read this. There are two separate genres, traditional art and decorative art or decor art. Why does decor art sell for higher prices than traditional art? And why do customers buy it over one-of-a-kind paintings? How does a representational artist compete with home decorators who are looking for paintings to match wallpaper? Well, Elizabeth, or Sis, as I like to call you. No, we're not related. I have to think about that. I would say that decorators, there's a couple of things. Decorators are really important, and if you can tap decorators, you can get them to promote your paintings, right? If they don't know you exist, that a decorator walks in. I've had galleries tell me I have decorators walk in here all the time. They look at what's here, and they'll go, "I'll take that one, that one, and that one, and that one," and they don't even ask how much. And he'll talk to them, and they'll say, "Well, I want this kind of a look, or this kind of a feel, or traditional, or whatever," and it matches. And I'm doing an apartment in Manhattan, and it's $50,000 or $100,000, and they don't care. And by the way, the more money they spend, the more money they make because they make a commission on that, right? So tap the decorators. I think that's the first thing. There's a lot of modern-ish, abstract-ish kind of art out there. Some of it is fabulous. We have a lot of it in our house. And my wife especially likes a lot of it. And, sometimes you're buying a cheap painting. We bought a cheap painting at one of these warehouse stores, for $25, but it was lovely. And, sometimes we don't have originals everywhere because we just don't. We should, but we don't. So I think, tapping the decorators, if you can get into those circles, there are the publishers who publish those paintings, and you can get in. I saw a painting this morning that my wife bought, and she hadn't taken the package off, had a picture of the artist on it. I thought that was nice. And this is, get yourself out there. Look, there's plenty of room for everybody, and you can't compete with everybody. The decorators are going to do their thing. If you can expand into them, do that. If you can't, then, go where the money is flowing, where you can find it, right? And that's what you kind of got to do. Okay, that's all I've got time for today, but I want to tell you a couple of things real quickly. First off, what do I want to talk about? We got a free gift for you, and that free gift is 97 Incredible Art Secrets. It's a 2-hour video. It's yours for free. You can watch it online, or you can get a DVD if you so want that, and just pay the shipping. Just go to 97artsecrets.com/free. It's about 2 hours of tips from great artists from some of the videos we produced. So get that. That's pretty cool. Secondly, you can subscribe to this program, and we hope you will. That helps us. And just go to YouTube and subscribe. Look up Art School Live. And of course, give me a follow. I'm on Blue Sky, Threads, X, all the other old stuff, Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, all the same at Eric Rhoads. Also, we've got the Plein Air Convention coming up, and you have until Valentine's Day to get the best price. Otherwise, the price goes up. It's a world-class event, and it's going to be in Lake Tahoe this year. If you're a plein air painter, it's like nirvana for plein air painters. Go to pleinairconvention.com for that. And then we also have Acrylic Live coming up. Acrylic Live has a faculty of about 24 painters. Improve your acrylic painting in 3 days. That's at acryliclive.com. Last but not least, I want to tell you about my retreat. So I've got a retreat coming up right away. It's already sold out. It's called Winter Art Escape. And then I have 2 more. I've got one in the spring and one in the fall. The Adirondack event in the spring. I've done it in the Adirondacks every year for probably this will be the 13th or 14th year. And you just roll out of bed. We give you a place to stay. We feed you. We play. We go painting every day. We have a lot of fun. It's a ball. And we do portraits at night sometimes. But we tell you where to go painting, or you can go off on your own. And so that's Paint the Adirondacks. So go to paintadirondacks.com. There's a few seats left to that, but not very many. And then we have a few seats left to Fall Color Week, which is in Door County, Wisconsin, a couple hours north of Chicago. And I've heard about this my whole life. Supposedly the color up there is rich and unbelievable. And it's on Lake Michigan, so it's beautiful, big cliffs, lot of variety. There's farms, there's lighthouses, there's all kinds of things to paint there. So it's kind of like Maine plus the Midwest. It's really nice. And I'm looking forward to that. And we all get together. And that's easy to get to from pretty much anywhere in the country because it's kind of halfway across. So check it out at fallcolorweek.com. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful today. Last but not least, I guess I should mention my mastermind because I did mention it. If you go to artbizmastery.com, artbizmastery.com, you can get replays on the Art Business Mastery Day that I did, which was about 8 hours, and it was filled with marketing stuff from great experts. I also have my Art Fundamentals business fundamentals that you can get, and then I have my 2 masterminds, the Elite Group and the Inner Circle. Check those out. See if any of that would help you. Just go to artbizmastery.com. And thank you for tuning in today. And happy Monday, you guys. We're going to have a great week. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.